Back in the 1910s, 1920s, the streets in American cities were this gigantic big old mess. You had pedestrians, you had horses and carriages, you had vendors, you had street carts. It was just this big melting pot of everybody, which of course wasn't great news for people who were trying to encourage the sale of cars. Because if you've got this great big hunk of lethal metal careering down a street, you kind of don't want anything to be in its path. But luckily, the very clever automobile industry of America had a great idea of how to clear their path. So at the time, there was a word that was used in a derogatory way. It was the word jay, and it would mean somebody who was unsophisticated or naive, especially somebody from the country. So the automobile industry were like, well, okay, what about if we take that derogatory word that already exists and then invent a new word of jaywalker to heavily imply that anybody who is stepping out into the street is stupid, is an idiot, an unsophisticated person who doesn't understand how cities work. Then they set about creating adverts, just embedding in people's minds this idea that you are the fool if you're the one that's crossing the road. Here's an advert from the time. The pedestrian may say that if he chooses to risk life or limb, it is his own affair, but it is not his own affair if he forces another citizen to be his partner in a serious accident. The jaywalker rarely indulges his willfulness at his own expense. They managed to get everybody involved in this. They got schools involved, they had Boy Scouts involved, there were adverts everywhere, and it totally worked. They managed to persuade people that the blame lay on the pedestrian and not the car. They managed essentially to shame people into leaving the streets to vehicles only. And as time went on, it changed. It stopped being about, rural idioticness and started being about illegality. And many different states of America started criminalising the act of being a pedestrian in the street outside of a crosswalk. And that was it, really. The cultural shift had happened. And all because some people made up a word that managed to convince everybody that walking was a crime. In case any Americans don't know, by the way, jaywalking is not illegal in Europe.